Well, welcome into the mid-Norfolk Garden, and we're going to do a garden tour this afternoon. It's an absolutely beautiful sunlit evening in middle of May. Chickens having a lovely time in our dell, just amusing themselves,
waiting for their dinner
in the dappled shade. Right, we're coming into the garden and we're going to give you a walk-through tour as we walk around and see what jobs we need to do and what's been done and what's looking good. So come with us, let's go and have a walk around the garden. 2 dogs in tow. What have you been up to, Ted?
No good, no doubt.
Yeah, not letting on. Now, this part of the garden we're coming through at the moment is lovely in spring. Border to the right where Lara is at the moment. It's really filling out nicely, isn't it? It's been full of spring bulbs earlier in the season, and at this time of year it's mainly autumn flowering herbaceous that's just filling in. Not an awful lot of colour. These are lovely. I don't know what those are. I can't remember. They're a little bulb, aren't they?
Definitely.
A little alpine bulb by the looks of it. Reminds me of Edelweiss, the flower.
If anyone knows what this is, please let us know.
I remember planting it probably about 10 years ago now.
I think these are 2 different plants as well.
They are, because these are multi-headed, aren't they? Taller, holding themselves at around 2 feet, and then there's these lower ones.
We should be using microphones, really.
Different shaped flower. Got some lovely aquilegia down this little border. It's just nestling under these roses and apple trees. Mixed planting in here. Plenty of rosebud coming on. The foliage is looking incredibly healthy on those this year. Won't be long before we get the first rose blossom out. I think there's some on the southern aspect of the house we're going to show you in a minute. But the aquilegia, self-seeded, 2-tone. We've got that pink one in the background, and then this beautiful.
Look at that one over there, the really dark one.
That's a lovely, almost purple black, isn't it? Double. Oh, that one's just fallen apart in my hands. Plenty of flower coming on. Really nice little splash, and then peonies will fill in on this aspect, probably starting in just a couple of weeks' time. Let's make our way round into the main body of the garden. Got this little walkway under a climbing rose.
At this time of day, this part of the garden is quite dark. Oh, squirrel.
Squirrel.
There's a lot of wildflowers in here.
Again, there's that little bulb again, that little white splash just in there with a campion. Fireglow crocosmia. Some peonies. A good sprinkling of bindweed in this border as well, so a fair bit to do. We spotted this bluebell, which we think is the American tall bluebell, as opposed to the more native British. I don't think it is a native British species, but here's the sort of much shorter, darker coloured English one. Lots of self-seeded flowers in this area. And this planting just in front of the old summer house, not doing as well as it had in previous years, is it, Kate, with the oxeye? You were just saying lots of campion in there. I think you've allowed too much grass to come on.
Definitely. Too much grass this year, and it's overwhelmed the oxeye daisies, unfortunately.
Quite often with sort of wild flower, self-seeded areas like this, you'll get certain things doing really well one year, not a lot the next, and then they'll be really good the following year. But yeah, definitely a lot of grass in there, probably because it's been so wet and warm.
Yeah, I think when it's finished flowering, I'll have to let it all seed, but then I think I'm going to dig as much of the grass out as I can. Semi-wild area though. It does give a splash of colour from a distance, particularly if that campion. That dark pink one in there's a really spectacular one, isn't it? It's incredible.
Really, really bright colour. And then our irises are just starting into flower. We're going to work our way round to those in just 1 minute, but let's just go down this long avenue. Beautiful at this time of day, just with the sunlight streaming through the hedge. It's just opening. It's I was going to say coppice, but it's pollarded lime that was 20 or 30 foot at one stage and was cut right down, and then it's flail cut every year. Opens reliably in mid-May. It's this lovely lime green foliage and gives a good thick backdrop to this border.
Look at these, the last of the daffodils.
The last ones.
The white, lovely white
Just
daffodils.
coming up, got my shadow there. Almost over, aren't they? That's the last one to flower in this garden. Just about everything else is now setting seed or been dead-headed, and the most of them in the old orchard now. Just a little sprinkling of those whites, isn't it? Then the cow parsley will come on.
Not so much this year, actually.
No. Little wild vetches coming up in here. Whole mixture of stuff in here. Bluebells and pink bells there, almost finished and seeding. Do let those seed because they will spread themselves nicely around under these pear trees and apple trees. Coming up into this corner at the end. This is in dense shade at this time of day. Quite a bit of work going on in here, just clearing this out. It's always a problematic bank with the wild field furge behind it. Buddleias were cut hard back end of last season. Just look at the result, a really nice tight bush, which will flower a good couple of months later than would normally be the case if they hadn't been pruned. First of the rugosa roses just starting at the top of this. Look at that.
Isn't that beautiful? I hadn't spotted that.
That will be a mass of mauvey purple in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
I think when it finishes flowering, it needs a really radical
Chomp
prune
it down, but
to
it's
about...
such a good size though, isn't it?
I just think it's getting very woody.
But it is shooting nicely from the base, so it would.
I think we need to take it to about 2 or 3 foot.
It would do, but it's a lovely sized thing. Let's see how well it flowers.
That
Then
feeling it
decide
needs
in a
chomp.
week or so.
Look at this. Where's the rose gone?
Well, there is a rose in there. You can see it just struggling through the back, but it is a bit swamped by the honeysuckle that's literally mugged it, isn't it?
There's a rhododendron back there.
Yeah, but again, it's in such deep shade.
I didn't plant
We
it.
have planted that, but it was when this border was embryonic and very much smaller. Again, this long border now has been such a blast of yellows with the primrose and the February gold and tete-a-tete daffodils now completely finished. Got iris coming up here, which won't be long before it's flowering.
The only thing that's flowering is the wildflowers.
Good, good. Wildflowers in here again. Shows you the value of having wildflowers, just self-seeding. The forget-me-not just trickling through. Campion,
Have a look at the Kamasu over
more
here.
bluebells. Now this is interesting. We've tried naturalising some Kamassias in here. They've been in 2 years, 3 years,
Oh, yes,
and
definitely, maybe more.
they're struggling. And we've researched this, and we think it's just a bit too dry for them here. They do like a bit of a moist, more fertile soil around their base. But that's the first couple of flowers we've had since planting them. And they were not doing particularly well in this border as well. You can see we've got a clump here at the base with plenty of leaf on it, but only one flower. But they should be that tall, really, powder blue. We've got some further on which have done much better.
Three peonies flowering.
Yeah, that's nice. It's flowering best it's done for a few years now. It's not a large flower variety, that. There are some really spectacular tree peony varieties you can get. The yellow's almost lost against the stems and the foliage. And this is where the soil gets a little better under this apple tree. And you can see the Kamassia that was planted out here. Almost finished, different variety, darker purpley blue, but lovely 5 stems there. So I think that's enjoying the more moist, more fertile soil in this little area of the garden. And then our little bluebell planting here was done really well in this dense, shady corner. Only gets the sunshine at this time in the evening. The rest of the time it's in pretty heavy shade, and it's in a rain canopy. If I just pan up, you can see what I mean. It's under a most enormous full-size English oak with an ivy canopy as well. So
Look at the bees. This board is absolutely full of bees.
big bees, little bees.
Oh, lots
What are
of
they?
them. Just lots.
On the bluebells or the
Yeah,
forget-me-nots?
I'm not sure.
I can hear them.
There's
Can't
loads
see
of
them settling on anything.
It must be the flowers, mustn't it? Must be
Oh, yeah.
bluebells, maybe.
Must be something. This border's planted with, can you remember the rose variety we've got in here, the old one?
It came with the house, I can't remember.
But there must be 20 or 30 of them, and they flower late June. Dark purple flower.
It's an old variety. It has a single flush, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yet to do its thing, but looking hopeful, coming on nicely. Now if we make our way around this little path, it just runs the edge of the orchard. down to one of the new iris borders that we planted last year. Single variety. We had enough iris rhizomes to split them and plant them nicely, and just look how they've rewarded us with this lovely planting. I'm exceptionally impressed that they've done this year, because they were sat underwater for a good percentage of the time, which for iris is asking a lot, isn't it? But just look at that beautiful powdery blue.
I think we have more than one variety of blue there, 'cause I think we do, but it works. Maybe 2-3 varieties possibly. That's a very pale one there.
I think that's just the age of the flower. They come out, the buds are almost black, aren't they, as you can see there?
I don't know, they only came out today.
Throated, you think?
Yeah, I think we've got more than one variety.
Maybe.
I did have more than one variety of blue.
I mean, when we move these, you can't obviously see what colour they were. You're just looking to try and match the rhizome shape and colour of the leaf. But they all came out of a single clump.
I think it works, the different blues.
We'll see over the next couple of days how the other ones fade. I think that is, hopefully, it's the same shape and colour. What's the throat? Triple. And that's the same.
Yeah, but the colours are really different. I think
they'll all fade to that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Let's go and have a look at the other irises, because I did have masses of irises that we've planted out when we split the original iris border. That's going to be nice, that little new wisteria. Hoping it's going to be a pink one, which is what it was bought at. Looking rather white, the flower bracts at the moment, but
It looks really white.
yeah, we'll see. Now these are the other irises.
See, that's the
This is a
variety.
whole mixed planting in here. I know it's mixed planting. We've got a yellow in there, look. Basically everything as an overspill was just popped in here. And there's some spectacular looking flowers. The long view that we get looking back on it is absolutely lovely. Just look at that. Flowering really beautifully. Only planted out last year. Didn't really expect them to do much at all this year. But wow, again at the end, you can see they went in very, very late, even beginning of this year. And again, this is one of the lowest lying levels in the garden, and the rain this spring just pooled there, so they've done well to survive, let alone bring them into flower. But next year, absolutely gorgeous. Well, these were the mixed ones that came out of the long border.
The black ones. We've got black ones.
So there are some almost black purples in here. Yeah, they're looking really good. Pleased with those. And then the new Quadrant Garden planted where the old swimming pool was. Again, looking really good this year. Lush green growth. First of the herbaceous just starting into flower. Just look at that. Gorgeous. We've got peonies in here, alliums, verbenas, herbaceous geraniums. Yeah, they're starting, but they'll really start when these catmints start to flower, which won't be that long now. And some lovely buds forming on the roses. But at the moment, the main colour again is coming from the Cottage Garden. Sprinklings of self-seeded wildflowers. Yeah. Going to be a week or so before the full colours start bursting. Apart from this little babe that's doing, look at that. Self-seeded Aquilegia. Don't know where that came from. Nothing else like it in the garden.
Perfect, isn't it?
Mass of those buttery yellow fading to white flowers. Gorgeous. And then sorrel. This was moved from the end of one of the other borders into this area, just to give us that little splash with the pink geraniums behind it. Looking very well. And then the blast of colour in the background coming from these euphorbias. And I've got to go and show you the azaleas and rhododendrons, which I don't seem to ever manage to film these in full sunshine, again in dense shade. This is the main iris border. That was the one where all those irises were. That should now be a monoculture, and we're going to get some flowers off these. They went in very late. It's all a single variety, Jacksona lemoni, I think. French variety from the 1820s. And that should give us a complete run of 3 rows of gorgeous orangey yellow flowers in about a week's time. But just look at these. Again with the shade, colours just pop if I come into here. And from a distance this view is just spectacular. Again, we've planted the euphorbia in the foreground there, which at the same time of year gives us this blast of lime yellow. It just works so well at lifting the reds behind it with that white drift, and then the top blast of orange, and then planted through it. Can you remember the rose that's planted there?
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase, isn't it? It's taken years to get going, but there's 3 of them in the back there, just coming up through the smoke bushes and the azaleas to give us that blast of colour later in the season. And then wrap that planting with the euphorbias around this outcrop in the border. Doing very well. So I hope you've enjoyed the garden tour, given you some ideas, some inspiration. We'll keep showing you the progress of this garden over the next few weeks. Thanks for watching.